Well, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. Whatever time of the day it is you're listening to this podcast. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about. That goes as an understatement of the year right now between the Eagles, the Washington Commanders, the Giants, who may lose some of their best players this offseason, the Cowboys with an epic choke job. Lots to talk about, as I mentioned and kind of teased in my last podcast. I'll be bringing on a friend of the program, Johnny, the Commanders fan. I don't know. You got to change your name so then I can have Johners from the Red Wolves or something like that. But the Commanders, it is what it is at this point. So, folks, thanks for tuning in as always. Johnny, welcome back to the program. And boy, like I said, don't we have a lot to talk about?
Definitely. And yes, I would be no happier if you could introduce me as anything other than the Commanders fan, because I still don't like the name. I'm not ever probably going to like it, but they're still my team. What can I say?
So, is there any? Just talking about the Commanders, we're going to get to the Eagles because some top of the news, and then we're really going to do a deep dive into the division right now and the playoffs. We'll talk a little bit about the playoffs too. But is there anything with this new regime change, new ownership? Are they still potentially talking about changing the name? I know there was some of those rumors, speculation going on, or is it going to be the Commanders?
This coming year, I think it's almost a given that it is going to be Commanders. I don't think the new ownership are going to be able to hire a new GM and a new head coach and a whole new scouting department and whatever else they're going to do, and then also try to tackle what it would take to rebrand the name again.
Yeah.
They're around the fact that could be happening, that they haven't said that they're 100% sold on the name Commanders, but they also haven't said that they're not either.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sure they're focused on other things right now. They got some big decisions and moves to make.
There's more important things going on to include the
that makes sense.
Include what we're going to do with the number 2 pick in the draft.
All right, so let me on the top of the show here. Let me just talk a little bit about the Eagles and the big move since my last podcast was bringing on Kellen Moore, the former offensive coordinator of the Cowboys. Last year he spent it, or last couple of years, I think he spent it now. Was it just 1 year or 2 years that he was out with the Chargers? I can't remember now. I guess it was just 1 year. We moved from Dallas, or is he a couple of years? Either way,
it's not been more than 2.
Yeah, okay.
I can't say for sure either.
Yes, I think it's been a couple of years. Yeah, because what's his name? The head coach has basically been calling the plays last couple of years, I believe. McCarthy.
Oh,
in Dallas, yeah. I'm just trying to think how long he's been away from them. I think it's 2 years now.
Yeah.
Either way,
sounds right.
Yeah. So Kellen Moore, who is one of the brightest, quote unquote, offensive coordinators out there, at least in general. I can't tell you I'm the biggest fan of his, but he's not. He had Dallas scoring like 28 points a game when he was there. Didn't do so well, or as well, I should say, with the Chargers. But well, since I have you on the program, what are your thoughts of him now going to be put in charge of fixing this Eagles offense that sputtered and spun its wheels all season?
I see it as a pretty good move for Philly.
Yeah.
He might be coasting a little bit on reputation at this point, but I mean, he was a great college quarterback at Boise. I mean, he was Boise was so good back in those days when they were taking on the big boys and beating them with regularity.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's also he's been very good throughout. He did well in Dallas, and we all hate them, but
yeah,
it's hard to say otherwise. He's done very well with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like okay with it. They definitely could have. I think it's a pretty good move overall. I'm not super excited about it because number one, Dallas knows him. So our number one right now, at least, I mean, unless you guys make a charge, but right now, our number one rival in that and number one competition in our division is Dallas, and that team knows him inside and out. So that doesn't make me feel all that comfortable. They're going to know his tendencies and this and that. So now he's a couple of years removed, so maybe he's put some new twists in his offense since he's been away. Hopefully he has. If not, he needs to now. So I'm kind of with you. I think it's overall a pretty good move. I'm not overjoyed. I actually, for me, my number one, if I had my own pick, I would have actually went for your former offense coordinator. I would have thought Bieniemy would have been a nice guy to bring in here for OC. Um, or was it Kingsbury? He was the other one that was rumored to
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury. Yeah.
Who was Arizona's coach for.
Yes. Yeah. I thought maybe him as well, but I'm okay. I'm all right with Moore. I think he's pretty good, pretty innovative. So we'll see. I just want to talk quickly about that because we got so much to dig into and in such a short time to do it here. So,
Sure.
What's really fascinating, and I appreciate you coming on and giving us the time because it's great, perfect timing. Not only just talk about maybe a little bit of some of the playoffs, especially yesterday's games, which were bonkers to me, and they really were. I got a lot to say about both. I'm sure you probably do too. But so much transitioning going on in this division, probably more so than I can really ever remember. As far as two teams are going basically through complete overhauls. The Eagles are changing everything except for the head coach who somehow survived. Your team, clearly, new owners, new coaches, new everything coming into to the Commanders. So we're definitely getting an update from you on what your thoughts are and going on in there.
New quarterback. Too.
Looks like potentially now a new quarterback. It looks like you're going to be moving on from Howard, or I don't know. I still like Howard, but we'll talk about that too. The Giants probably are not going to have their best player come back next year, and Barkley's probably going to be playing somewhere else. And they still have no idea what they're going to do with their quarterback. Are they going to move up in the draft and try to grab one of these guys? Probably. They still have Daniel Jones there, but I don't think anybody's sold on him in New York. And Dallas, which I know we took a lot of glee in, with a super choke job in the playoffs, collapsing at home in their own house to Green Bay, who absolutely dominated them the whole game. That was awesome to see.
Beautiful.
Was it not?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Still smiling about that.
Yeah, me too. If I didn't have such a horrible last 7 weeks of the season, I'd really be smiling about it. But it's but yeah, it still made me happy because even though I knew the Eagles were going to lose first round of playoffs, I predicted it several weeks remaining in the season. I said this team's one and done.
I didn't. I really still thought they would beat Tampa. I swear, I really did.
Yeah, and that might be only because you didn't follow them as closely and just really see how much of a demise this team had in the last few weeks of the season, last month of the year. I just didn't see it happening. I mean, this team just for some reason, and it's still I don't have 100% pulse on why, because when you have a collapse this badly, I don't know how you can say that it was that or this. I think it was a combination of things. But when you're losing to bad teams by the end of the season, I mean, at home and with everything on the line, they had two chances to seal up the NFC East and the second seed, and both times they lost to bad teams. And that's why it was so alarming to me at the end of the season. And for me, made an easy prediction that they would be one and done. Even though Tampa was not a good, that wasn't a great team they were playing in the first round. Certainly beatable. I still knew they were going to lose, and they did, and they lost badly. They were just non-competitive. The team somehow just
that was rough.
So I know, I know you enjoyed it, and that's fine with being a Commander fan. I get it. None of us root for the divisional, our division rivals in the playoffs ever, or rarely. I know I did once, and it was tough. I did root for the Giants when they played the Patriots, but it's like picking the lesser of two evils because I live in Connecticut. For those of you out there who may not know, and dealing with these ridiculously, I don't know. I have so many ways to describe them. Yeah, arrogant bandwagoners up here in New England. Yeah. I just couldn't stand. To me, I was just really picking the lesser of two evils with the Giants. But I hated those Super Bowls. God, I'm like really of all, and I had to see it twice. Giants versus Patriots. But all right, so let's start now. We touched on the Eagles. Let's get into your team. All right. I know there's a lot going on. I have not talked to you in a while now. What is the latest with the Commanders? And I guess maybe the latest is exactly what you kind of alluded to. And that is, it seems like they are going to go after a quarterback here. Are you?
Yeah,
Is that a definite? You think now the second pick?
I do.
You do.
I really think that that's almost a done deal at this point. I don't think they're giving up on Sam Howell, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to pass up 2 overall in a draft that has at least 3 potential franchise style quarterbacks. And Howell's still on his rookie contract. He's a if nothing else, he would be a great backup if that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Or he starts the first 6 games and the rookie gets used to things, and they either bring him in if Howell is 2-4, or Howell goes out 5-1 and they let the rookie sit even longer. I mean,
Right.
Patrick Mahomes sat his whole first year behind Alex Smith.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers sat for years behind
several
Fuller.
years.
Yep.
Jordan Love. I mean, it
Jordan
does
Love.
happen. It's not that common, but it definitely does happen.
Right. Yes.
But I'm pretty positive at this point that they're picking the quarterback at 2, and
okay.
The GM has been hired. He was the assistant GM with the Niners. Adam Peters is his name, and he's very highly regarded. I mean, I think most of the national guys had said he was the best GM target in this hiring cycle, and the fact that Washington was able to get him pretty fast in the process speaks to we may be at a point finally now where people actually want to come to Washington since Dan Snyder's no longer the owner.
Yeah, I think that's definitely addition by subtraction for
it's
sure.
Got to be. Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said when I was on your first podcast before the season even started,
yeah,
I would have taken 0-17 to get a new owner, and we almost did that. We were 4-13, but we got our new owner.
Yeah. Well,
now Rivera's gone, which I mean, bye.
Right.
Good riddance.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. Like I know there was rumors that he was talking to the Eagles, and I can't remember. I don't know if they actually.
I think he actually interviewed.
Did he interview? Yeah, I think. Yeah, I was trying to figure out. There's so much going on that week with the Eagles.
I think he did actually.
I want to say he did talk to the Eagles too. They ended up going with Fangio, out of Miami.
I like that. I like Fangio better than Moore as far as
the Eagles
2 coordinators you guys picked up. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting. We'll get back to the Eagles right now with having you on here. I want to make sure we dive into the Commanders.
So the newest, for probably over a week now, the consensus has been that Washington is going to get Ben Johnson, the OC from Detroit. Now that they've been eliminated from the playoffs.
That might heat up.
They can go after him and hire him now. But I'm also hearing today that Seattle is making a late push to interview him and the guy McDonald, who's the defensive coordinator for the Ravens.
Yeah, right.
And both of them are being interviewed today by the Seahawks.
Okay, that'll be interesting. I'm actually surprised. What do you think about that move?
It could come down to this guy Johnson, who most people think is the hot, best young up and coming coordinator that everybody's looking at.
Well, I tell you what, I was impressed with him from the game yesterday. That 49ers.
How could you not be?
That 49ers defense, they were.
31, they hung the 31 on that defense.
Seriously. Yeah, they had like 280. They had 280 yards in the first half against 49ers.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that guy's impressive, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. No, that's who as a Washington fan, that's who I want for sure.
Yeah.
If Seattle comes in at the last minute and plucks him away, I'm going to be upset because for basically over a week now, Washington is pretty much seems to think that they've got him. Yeah. He also has some relation with the new GM, the guy from the Niners, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but this is it. He's also a UNC grad, which
right.
Your listeners may know that I too am a UNC Carolina guy.
Yeah, those are my listeners who have been with us for a while. Certainly know that.
A UNC quarterback, and potentially Drake May, who very likely could be the pick at number 2 overall.
Yeah, he's got a pipeline to DC now.
Is also a UNC guy. So yeah, there's a lot of Carolina stuff going on there. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I was going to ask you about Howell, them potentially moving on for him because I know that was your guy.
Right.
So now, like you said,
Yeah.
it
I
doesn't
mean,
mean they're going to
it's
trade
kind
him
of
or
bittersweet.
Well, what do you think?
I just don't think a new coach, a new GM are going to come in and have that number 2 pick and not want to go after
Get their guy.
the shiny object. Yeah,
Yeah.
not have to take someone else's guy. Like, this is their guy. And by doing that, they know they're probably going to get 4 years.
Well, one of my biggest,
At least I'd say at least 3 years.
well, one of my biggest fears, and I know I talked to you about this, at times during the season when I've had you on, is Caleb Williams. I thought it was going to be the Giants. I guess it still potentially could be. But now with the Washington, I didn't really think you guys would be in the top 5 of the draft either. But now there's 2 NFC Teams, 2 chances for Caleb Williams to be in our freaking division.
Yeah, no,
Not happy
I'm
about that.
wondering when the new coach gets hired, whoever it is, and the GM's already in place, they may decide to get to number 1, and whatever the Bears want, they'll give it.
Oh yeah, the Bears don't need that pick.
If they think Caleb is that much further ahead of May or the guy from LSU, Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman, if they think he's that much better, and when I say if they think, like, they're the ones that are putting their professional reputations and careers on the line over it.
Right.
If they think he's that much better, I would say do it. Go get it.
Yeah, and they probably don't have to give up.
If you think he's the next Mahomes, then go get the next.
Right,
Mahomes.
and to move up one slot, you wouldn't have to give away your mortgage to get him. You don't have to give. You're moving up one slot.
Next year, this year, one of their 2 seconds this year,
right,
and maybe next year's first, but I don't know. Just to go one spot, that would seem pretty high.
I don't think you'd have to give up a first at all. I mean, who knows? First. Yeah, just one slot. I mean,
one spot. Yeah, but the thing is, though, the Bears know that I mean, the Giants sitting there at number 6 would give up. They'd give up the number 1s for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I guess it's like what you're saying, though. If the Bears are super high on somebody, then they're gonna make you pay more. But if they're kind of like have 2 guys pretty even, they're gonna obviously try to squeeze as much out of Washington. But it's like, hey, do we make the trade, or do we make a trade demanding way too much?
Got to decide that if you're the Bears, you have to decide what are you doing with Fields. I mean, are you getting a quarterback, or are you rolling with Fields, trading that pick, getting down to 3rd or 4th, and then still picking? I would say Marvin Harrison Jr. if I was the Bears.
I think that's who they have to pick.
If you're not going to pick a quarterback, he's the next best player on the draft.
Well, are the Bears sold on him or not? The
Fields?
Yeah, and Fields.
Or Harrison.
No, Fields.
I mean, no one knows. They fired his offensive coordinator, which is not a good sign.
Right.
If you're a Fields person, which I don't think I am, although he absolutely torched my team back in September.
He's very athletic, obviously, but I don't know how much of a, how good of a quarterback, how much of a thrower he is. I've never really seen him, have a consistent
dazzle you with his arm.
No, yeah.
And I still think the most logical scenario is that Chicago's going to draft Caleb. They're going to trade Fields for a 3rd or 2nd, whatever they can get.
Yep.
It wouldn't shock me at all to see Fields go to Atlanta. He's from Georgia. He started his college,
and they need a quarterback down there
before he and they need a quarterback so bad.
Right.
Atlanta really is only a quarterback away from probably dominating the NFC South.
Yeah, because that's a bad division.
Sucks.
Yeah, bad division.
That whole division is awful.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, I'm really surprised they didn't hire Belichick to come in there and coach.
Well, that was the hot rumor. That was the hot take that they were.
He interviewed. It looks like he's not going to get a job anywhere.
No, that is interesting. What about he was linked to Washington too? I heard rumors about him going to Washington.
Yeah, they didn't even interview him.
Yeah,
I've got good, reliable, people that I listen to on pods every day that they're certain that they have not interviewed him. They are not even considering him.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be without a spot.
This new owner is going younger and newer. And
yep.
Belichick would want full control over everything.
Exactly.
And they just hired a GM. They're not gonna put a coach in there that's gonna try to butt heads with their new GM. So yeah, Belichick is definitely not coaching for.
Yeah, and plus Belichick, he's more inclined to go to a playoff ready now team anyway, not a rebuilding situation.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Usually, I mean, if a team is playoff ready, they're probably not firing their coach. I mean, with some
less of the Eagles.
Some exceptions.
The Eagles might have been one of them.
Eagles almost did,
but they decided to hold on and go another year.
They almost did. They fired everybody else.
But again, they wouldn't have brought the Eagles. Jeffrey Lurie was not going to, and Howie were not going to bring in a Belichick, even if they did fire a coach.
Right.
They were
not. Belichick would want to be Howie.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. He would want full roster, full scout. Everything. And they're smartly they were giving it to him because the last 3 years in New England he had that and it was bad. It was terrible.
Yeah, it has been bad. That team's getting worse every year.
Their drafts really weren't even that good when Brady was still there.
Yeah, that's true.
Brady was able to mask it because he's Brady.
Right.
Because and the rest of the division until Buffalo came on the last couple of years.
Which was always my issue with the AFC.
They've been a guaranteed 10 or 11 or 12 win team every year. Because 6 of those wins were against the Jets, the Dolphins, and Buffalo when they all sucked.
And now Brady's gone, and they're all good. The Jets would be better than they were if they had a quarterback.
Exactly. Right.
It's just amazing how the timing just worked out.
Belichick might not get a job. I'm actually it's starting to look like.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know where he'd go. Seattle might be a place for him.
That's still a possibility, I think, for Seattle. And there's one other. Open.
Are you surprised that they let Seattle coach there?
Carroll?
Yeah. Are you surprised they let him go? I was surprised.
Yeah, I think it's kind of time.
I mean, he's still a good coach, though.
I feel like and I know he's your guy. I do know that.
He is my USC guy.
I feel like they had gotten as far as they were going to get
with him,
moving forward with him.
Yeah.
72 years old.
I still think he's a good coach, though. There's not a lot of talent on that Seattle team, and he's got him in the playoffs. They're borderline playoff team.
Pretty good season, considering they don't really have that.
Look what he did with the quarterback. I mean, that guy was out of the league, and he made him a decent quarterback too.
Yeah, I know. He's a castaway. Yeah, I agreed with that.
I still think Pete Carroll can coach, but you're right. He is older, but he doesn't act his age. The guy has more energy than a lot of 45-years.
Yeah,
but
that part's true. And and when they came out and said it, they said, "Well, we had a mutual parting of agreement," and then it turns out that Carroll's actually out there looking for a job. So it wasn't
mutual.
That he didn't retire. I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
I think they kind of forced him out.
But he's a guy, though. If he doesn't get a job soon, he probably will give it up then. Because I mean, he's got to catch on quick.
I mean, yeah. Right.
I can't see him taking a couple years off and then coming back to coach.
The same age, I think.
What's that?
I think Carroll and Belichick are the same age.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
They're both early 70s.
Yeah, either one of them. I can't see really either one of them taking a year or two off and then coming back to coaching. I think they're done if they're out next year or I think they're both done. If they don't land a job somewhere. I mean, why would you keep coming back? I mean, how old are they? 76? 74?
They're
72?
72 or 3, I think.
That's old. That's my parents' age.
I mean, yeah, right.
I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, it's just tough. It's tough watching your parents get old. I mean, but when you put it in perspective like that, those are
right there too. We're close to the same
it's
age.
Tough. And eventually it has to impact your coaching. When it's
it does.
When you get to that age, I don't know how you can still. Although Pete Carroll, I tell you, he is still a ball of energy on that sideline. It really is amazing. I got to figure out what he's using. What's his secret sauce?
Yeah, what kind of supplements or
holy cow
diet he has.
He is always juiced up.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you again, getting back to Howell. So what is your thoughts being a big Howell NC guy? Now you may end up with the NC quarterback anyway, but I know you're a Howell guy.
He didn't do enough. He didn't do enough to. he didn't do enough for me to say we're going to build around him
Okay.
and take that number 2 pick
Yep.
and either draft the best offensive lineman or trade back and go 5 or 6 spots back and pick up some additional picks.
Yeah.
He didn't do enough. I wanted him to.
He always does.
And
He always does enough
about
against the Eagles.
Yeah, if we could play Philly 17 times a
We
year,
have no answer for that
throw
guy.
for 8,000 yards.
I mean,
we'd probably still lose most of those games, but not because of him though.
You know,
he played 2 of his 3 best games of the year were both in the Philly.
Well,
games.
in his short career here, he just kills the Eagles.
Outstanding in those 2 Philly games.
Yeah.
Absolutely throwing.
Don't be surprised if he's a backup quarterback of the Eagles at some point down the road. If you guys let him go,
that would scare me.
You know.
And here's my prediction is that he's not done being a starter for someone in the NFL. And he may not start the season as someone's starter, but if he latches on and quarterbacks get hurt all the time, clearly.
Right.
He will be starting games again. He's definitely.
Oh, yeah, I think he's shown enough.
You
again,
haven't seen the last of him.
Yeah.
And it might not be for Washington.
Right.
He'll be on the 3rd year of his 4-year rookie deal, and since he was not a first-round pick, they won't be able to give him the 5th year. So
yeah, essentially,
we got him cheap for 2 more years if they want to keep him. If they think there's enough market to get a 2nd or 3rd round pick for him,
right?
It wouldn't shock me to see that either.
Sure.
But they also don't have a whole lot else sitting there as a decent backup either, because these days you really need 2 quarterbacks.
You absolutely do. Absolutely do.
These guys are just getting demolished.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So if you were the GM and you get the 2nd pick, and let's just say the Bears, let's say they take Harrison, or they trade out and maybe somebody moves up and picks one of the quarterbacks. Let me just say this. If you had the 1st pick, which you almost do, who's the quarterback that you want in Washington? Is it your NC guy or is it Caleb?
It's Caleb.
Okay. Yeah.
And now I can also, there's some things about Caleb that are kind of just, unsettling. He seems to kind of have a little bit of diva in him.
Right. I agree with that. And I'm a USC guy.
Yeah.
He never really showed that until this year. But this year he showed too much of that, I think.
Yeah. He's got a meddling father that comes in and wants to, kind of run the show and dictate terms to the. There's some things about him I'm not sold on.
Yeah.
The actual quarterbacking talent, to me though, is undeniable.
Exactly. It's hard to pass up on a guy with his ability.
He's got the most talent of anybody.
He's got the arm strength. He's got the mobility. He's got the intelligence. He's got all of that.
Yeah.
Reads
off schedule. Yeah.
Reads defense as well.
He's still and he's never had a serious injury. That's huge.
Right. Exactly.
He's not coming off a repaired ACL or any of that kind of stuff either.
Yep. True.
That all matters. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, it does. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
It does. You can say he came back just as good when after his ACL. I'm not so sure.
Well, if there's a position that can, it probably is quarterback. But unless you're a mobile quarterback, though.
Not a running. Yeah. I don't want my mobile quarterback. Coming off an ACL.
Yeah. Okay. So
if I had 1-1, I would pick Caleb, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know where I stand on that. It would be Caleb for me. But I wanted to get your take because Eagles have no chance in him, and and Hurts is another whole situation. But I've talked enough about Hurts, but on this podcast. So, anything else you want to just tell us about the Commanders? Because then I want to move on quickly to the rest of the NFC, and then I want to dive into the playoff games a little bit.
Right. Not so much. I think a lot will depend on who they end up as the head coach.
Yeah.
The coach and the GM are going to have to kind of strategize and figure out which one of those 3 guys they like the most. And if it's Caleb and they have to go up and get him, like I said, if the move makes sense, I'm not going to hate it. If they think that's their guy, the new owner hired them to come in and put their stamp on things, not just take what's already been here for years and not been good. I want them to do something bold. I want them to, get in there and do something
Yeah. Well, let's just paint this.
Innovative or whatever.
Let's just paint this picture, right? Because it's very possible. This is not something that is a reach, right? Let's just say things fall into place and you do hire the Detroit offensive coordinator, right? What's his name again?
Right. Ben
Johnson, right? So you bring him in here, and then you do end up with Caleb. As you know, well, I shouldn't say this. I would think you would agree with me that sometimes in the NFL now, you can go from worst to first, and you can suddenly get good pretty fast. Now, I'm not saying to be that quick, but let's just say 2 years from now, you guys could be right at the top of the, competing with the top of the NFC conference. It can happen that quick.
Look at Houston this year.
Right, they found a quarterback. Right, they got a good coach.
And they went from 2-15 to playoff win.
Right. Great example, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, in 1 year they got a QB at number 2 overall, not number 1. That's got me a little more optimistic too, because
right.
Carolina took the Bama kid and
yeah, he struggled.
Houston took who was left, and it turns out that he struggled.
Yeah, he really
badly.
did. Yeah, he really did. Like, I don't know about that guy. He looks small too. Like, he doesn't even look big enough to play in the NFL. So you got to be pretty optimistic either way. I mean, number one, there's three reasons for optimism, right? You got rid of Snyder finally. That alone is big time. And then you have the second pick in the draft, which you're going to get one of the top quarterbacks, and then maybe land Ben Johnson. That's a pretty damn good start if you hit on all three of those.
Yes, that is one hell of a good offseason for Washington, us Washington fans.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess there's not much to really talk about the Cowboys other than just laugh at them for the choke job. So that's, I think that was.
Most of, I mean, at some point they're going to have to pay CD and Parsons
and Dak again too, right? Isn't his contract coming up? Or no?
No, I think
he's
Dak's
set. Okay.
Solid for another year or 2. I mean, another 2 years.
Okay, yeah. So you got Parsons and CD. And those are
some of these other guys like Bland and
who came out of nowhere this year.
They're some of their offense. Yeah, exactly. Some of their O-line guys are probably re-upping soon.
Well, they got to pay the guy that was out all season, the cornerback, Diggs.
Diggs. Yeah, right. Not Stefan, the brother.
Right. So his contracts will be coming up soon.
Right. Yeah, they're not going to be able to keep everybody.
Right.
And you gotta wonder if they can keep drafting. That they've drafted really well.
They have drafted well. Yeah, you gotta give them credit.
To say that,
I do too, but they have drafted really, really well.
Dallas has drafted out of the East. They've drafted the best.
They have. Yeah, I agree with that.
For the last 5 years, they've drafted the best.
Yep. Yeah, sucks to say it, but
I mean, I hate saying that, but I have to grudgingly admit, they have drafted the best.
They got lucky in that one draft where CD fell to them.
Yeah,
because he should have went higher than he did.
Eagles, you could have had Parsons. You traded down.
Could have, but we got Devontae Smith, so it's not. It's not terrible.
I get that.
But
at the time, that was a bigger need. But
it was
overall, in terms of impact, it's pretty hard to argue that Parsons isn't more impactful.
Well, you could say that. Here's the thing: you can say that in hindsight because they got AJ Brown after they got Smith. Like if they didn't get AJ Brown, Smith would be the clear cut number one here.
If he could have done it,
and his value would have been higher. Well, I think he proved that he could do it because they didn't have AJ Brown in the playoffs, and Devontae went off.
He did go off.
He was the only one. He's the only one that showed up in that game. Matter of fact.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I never hated that pick in the first place.
But I hear what you're saying, though. I mean, passing on Parsons is tough to do. That guy is.
Looking now, first team All Pro all 3 years. I mean, Smith is good, but he's not first team All Pro receiver.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I just see where you're coming from there. Yeah.
That's just how it kind of worked out.
Yep. All right. So
Dallas has issues. I mean, they're gonna have issues keeping their best players, and something was up. Like,
I'm glad they kept McCarthy too, because I just don't see that guy winning big games.
I'm so glad they kept him. so glad they kept him.
Case in point, this past season.
The last thing we as Dallas haters would have needed was for someone with actual competence to go in there and start coaching that team.
Yeah.
Because they got the best roster in the division.
Well, I always thought it was insane because initially, after the choke job and after Belichick making that decision, there was, I don't know, you probably heard the same rumors. There was all these rumors that he was going to go to Dallas. I'm like, there is no way. I will put my entire house on the fact that there's no way Belichick is going to Dallas. It's impossible for him and Jerry Jones to run to get along and run a team.
Right, because Jerry is too involved.
Way too involved.
Jerry would never just turn everything loose to Belichick and say,
right,
you run it, you win for us, and I'll stay in the background.
If he popped his head in one of the strategy meetings, he'd be like, what the hell are you doing in here? Get the hell out of here, Jerry.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We don't need your input. You're the owner. You own, and I'll coach. Okay, Jerry.
Yeah, because say what you want about Bob Kraft in New England,
he stayed out of it.
A scumbag, but he was a good owner in terms of letting his football people do the football
exactly
stuff,
right,
and giving them what they needed, but not enforcing every decision that they made.
Yeah. So real quick, we'll touch on the Giants, and then we'll get into some of these playoff games. I know we only got about maybe 20 or so minutes to go here.
Sure.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the Giants?
I love the fact that the Giants have at least one more $40 million year with Daniel Jones. I love it. I can't stand him. I didn't like him in college either. He went to Duke, so obviously I didn't like him to start with.
Which is probably why they can't afford to keep Barkley and go.
Yeah, I don't think. You know what? I wouldn't be totally shocked to see Barkley come back on a 1-year
prove it deal,
8 or so, prove it kind of deal. Just because I don't think Barkley's going to get 5 years and $62 million from anybody else like he thinks.
Yeah, teams aren't playing quarterbacks. I saw that last year.
No,
running backs rather.
Right, running backs.
Yeah. Teams aren't.
No, you're right.
Teams are not paying running backs.
I could see them coming to some kind of 1-year type of deal with him. Because again, I don't think that now maybe.
I can tell you this: just coming out of the Giants camp, it sounds like they're going to be moving on from Barkley. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
It sounds like that. Now I agree with you. I think if there's no market out there again, they would bring him back.
He's a fan favorite. He's the face of the franchise. It has been for 5 years.
Exactly.
He's their most marketable player. He's their most well-liked player.
For sure.
I mean,
and he's their best player.
Really, he's kind of like the Terry McLaurin of New York. I mean, McLaurin is the only marketable guy on the Washington team, really, unless you think it's Howell. You don't really market around defensive tackles, and our 2 defensive tackles are probably the next 2 best players on the team, Deron Payne and John Allen. But they're deep tackles.
And the other 2 you let go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And Montez Sweat's already looking like that's already looking like a terrible decision.
Yeah, and Chase Young,
I'm not so sure.
He might be winning a Super Bowl though in a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, he won't be winning it. He'll be along for the ride.
He's doing okay though. He's playing well.
He's not terrible.
You know who had a resurgence this year? Talent. You know who had a resurgence this year was Clowney.
Yeah, I know.
He ended up with 9 sacks. I mean, I always thought the guy had ability, but never was able to reach it. But he had 9 sacks this year on the Ravens. Now he made a boneheaded play in the playoffs. Over the weekend.
He did.
What a stupid.
They made a bunch of boneheaded plays.
This is a good segue because I wanted to get into these games because I never in my life have I've seen usually there's one team that shoots themselves in the foot in these huge games. Yesterday we saw both teams do it. The Ravens killed themselves over and over again. Should have probably won that game. And same can be said for Detroit, which surprised me. I thought San Fran was the much better team, but Detroit showed up big time yesterday and outplayed them,
They laid it on San Fran.
Holy cow. And then just bad plays and more than anything else, just stupid head coaching decisions. And that's really what I wanted to. So I don't know. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the Chiefs, Ravens, or you want to start with 49ers?
Yeah, let's start with the Ravens.
All right. So go ahead. I'll give you the floor. Give you your thoughts on that game.
Yeah. My thoughts on that game were I don't feel like Kansas City won the game. I feel like Baltimore lost the game.
That's exactly how I feel.
And as you're the 1 seed, you got the MVP of the league, and you're playing at home with a bye week.
Yeah.
You can't lose that game. You can't lose
that game. Now, Jackson did not play well. And they still should have won.
No. And they still only lost by 7. But no,
right.
He that interception he threw was
The
horrible.
intersection was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that was in the quadruple coverage, and his guy was. There was
you can't make that pat. You cannot make that throw. Can't.
No, throw that thing into the 4th row of the stand.
Right. So you had that play, right, where they took 7 off the board. And then, as you know, the Zay Flowers, who had a good game, but he's got to hold on to the ball going diving into the end zone.
Yes, exactly. That I like that kid.
Yeah, he's a good player.
One obvious reason, too, but
oh, is he from NC?
No, but his last name is.
Oh. So I wasn't even thinking that. Wow. Okay.
So Evan and I both.
I see. Yeah. Why not? Absolutely.
So seeing him on the sidelines was pretty rough.
It's just
he was obviously,
Now, good play by that Kansas City guy because he did punch it out. It's not like he lost the ball.
Oh yeah, no, it was a good.
So that was a good play by whoever that Kansas City defender was.
He didn't have it secured though.
Yeah, and he punched. Exactly. You got to. That's your number one priority down there.
He didn't have it tucked to where even if you punched it, you're not going to get it out. He would have been down at the 1.5 yard line, and then they would have scored on the next play.
Now, at the same time,
and the whole game would have been different if it was 17-14 instead of 17-7 at that point.
Right. So on the flip side, you got to give credit where credit's due, and Kansas City just doesn't make those mistakes. They don't. Mahomes doesn't throw interceptions.
This is Mahomes' best playoff run in his already top 5 QBs of all time career.
So he's doing it on the road this time.
Yeah, exactly. To go to Baltimore, to Buffalo, and then to Baltimore.
Yeah, Mahomes is great. I mean, if anyone had any questions about how good this guy is, they should be answered now.
He just answered it. He just went from he might be one of the 10 best quarterbacks ever to he's in the top 5 already, and he's.
Well, here's the thing, and my criticism about Brady has always been he's always had a home and always had a first round bye. Well, this year, and this is what Mahomes is doing this year, Brady never did. He never went on a road with a bye and 2 road games and won a Super Bowl.
No,
and now Mahomes hasn't done it yet, but he's 1 game away.
Say, if they win this, Mahomes is in the top 4, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he's up in the Brady, Montana.
Yeah, because he's also doing it this year with not a lot of huge weapons on offense.
They don't have
other than Kelsey, who's an all-world player, and that Pacheco's a really good running back. I mean, he's a really good back. He's under.
See, I think he's good because they've schemed it up.
And they use him right. Yeah. Well, Andy obviously has a great coach doing Andy Reid, so he knows how to use those guys. But weapons-wise, there's Kelsey and a handful of guys on that team, right? And he's winning these big games on the road.
What is it?
Rice.
Yeah, Rashee Rice.
He's a good player. He's coming into his own. Yeah, he definitely is. He may end up being a really good player. Certainly looks like he's heading that direction. But there's no star wide receiver on that team right now.
There's no Tyreek Hill.
Right, there's no Hill. Exactly. Right.
Yeah, right. You could have said, oh, well, that's why Mahomes is so good because he had Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. Now he doesn't.
Right.
He's still that good.
And Kelsey always showed, like, he didn't have that good of a year this year, like a typical Kelsey year, but in the playoffs, this guy shows up.
12 catches for whatever.
And some of those were hard catches. I mean, he made some big plays yesterday. Kelsey did.
Yeah, I just feel like Baltimore can't lose that game, and they did.
They had it right there.
No, they had everything going for them,
and they still had chances, even though they made those mistakes and were playing, and they had quarterback playing really badly, and they still had a chance to win that game.
Yeah,
but the better team doesn't always win.
Detroit.
I was rooting for so.
Detroit.
I was.
I think most people that aren't Niners fans were probably rooting for Detroit.
Well, here's the thing. Obviously, the Eagles have had a building rivalry with the 49ers, so I think that's just part of my thinking here. But I don't like the 49ers. I just don't like them. I don't like their fans. I don't like the team. Now, there's players on the team I like. I have a lot of respect for Warner. Fred Warner, the linebacker, is an amazing player.
Damn beast.
I love that guy. They're a very good team. Don't get me wrong. And I love McCaffrey. Always liked McCaffrey. Always respected him.
Yeah. Right.
And I've always liked Deebo Samuel. There's guys I like. And Ayuk is really becoming a really good player.
Man, he's becoming the superstar.
I don't like Purdy. Purdy aggravates me. He's like a little prick. I just he is. To me, and maybe I'm over. I'll say this. I might be mistaken when I say this, but to me, he comes across as being arrogant. Do you see arrogance with this guy, or is it just me?
Yeah,
Like I think he's cocky as hell.
He seems like the rich kid that
Yeah.
That was born on third base and acted like he just hit a triple.
Yeah, he seems okay. So it's not just me. I think he's so cocky.
Entitled. He kind of does.
Yeah, I get that impression with him. I don't like Purdy. Now he's a good player. I'm not trying to take his game away from him. I don't like his. To me, he's got the smirk all the time, and he just looks.
He fell into a perfect situation, though.
He did. He's on a great team, good organization.
I don't think it would have happened for him anywhere else besides where he ended up.
Yeah, and as far as his play, I've always been the one that, as much as I don't like his personality, I've always said, because there's been a lot of people knocking him, saying, "Oh, he's a system quarterback. This and that. He can't win big games. He can't make the big throws."
That's not true.
I always said, no, this guy can play quarterback. He's really good. He's really good. It's amazing this guy was Mr. Irrelevant, wasn't he?
Yes. Well, I mean, there were three quarterbacks drafted earlier in that draft, and the two that actually did anything of note in the NFL so far are Howell, who was a 5th-round pick, and then Purdy, who was a 7th.
Wow.
And they were both from the same draft. The other quarterbacks from that draft were...
It must be bad.
Matt Castle, Kenny Pickett for the Steelers.
Wait a
minute.
Castle. Can't be Matt Castle. Not Matt Castle. You must be thinking of someone else.
No, I'm sorry.
You're thinking of...
Matt Corral.
Okay,
Matt
yes.
Corral,
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
No, Matt Castle was... No,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, sorry. Matt Corral.
Yeah, okay.
It was... And then Malik Willis.
Okay, who's a
who
bust.
got drafted by Tennessee, and he didn't do anything.
Right. Okay, he was in that quarterback draft. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weak quarterback class.
Wow, talk about them, the scouts and everything else having that draft upside down completely. Yeah. I mean, Howell and clearly Purdy were the best two coming out of there.
And Pickett was the only one that was drafted.
Oh, Pickett, yeah, Pickett. So I don't know about Pickett. Yeah, I've seen like early on. I thought he was going to be pretty good, but I haven't seen much of him lately at all to be that impressed.
I don't think even good. Even Pittsburgh doesn't really think he's the guy.
Right. I don't think so either.
They don't. I don't know if they can. They lucked their way into the playoffs, so they're not going to get a draft.
Well, they got their running game going. I think the running game carried them.
One of the quarterbacks.
They got their running game going a little bit. I think is how they got. Yeah, you're right. They kind of just barely got into the playoffs, but it's because they turned to the running game because they couldn't throw really much. What's his name there? Ended up having a pretty good year.
Rudolph. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Rudolph, but I'm talking about their ground game between Jalen, Najee, and the other guy there, Warner. Is it Warner? Their backup running back had a really good season too.
I didn't watch enough Pittsburgh games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea I'm saying is they just turned a running game and that kind of carried them. And they always have had the ability to pressure defense.
Yeah, right.
Pressure quarterbacks.
Yeah, the defense has always been there. That has never been an issue.
So back to Detroit.
What do you think about the Super Bowl? You don't have to make a score prediction yet, but
I still think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. I've said that all along for at least since the halfway point in the Eagles collapse. That's for sure. So that being said, I don't know how you can bet against Mahomes.
I can't.
So
right now, I cannot say with any certainty that I think that even from spots number 2 to 53 on the roster, San Fran is a far better team. But spot number 1 is the most important one, and I don't think I can go against the guy number 1.
Yeah.
His name is Mahomes.
So it's that and the fact that Andy Reid for these 2 weeks is going to go to school on what Ben Johnson just did to their defense. Now, I know they don't have the weapons. They got a better quarterback, and they got the best tight end in the world. And they got Rice, who's coming out as a wide receiver, but they still don't have the offensive weapons
they've got enough. Reed can make Nicole Hardman or one of those guys
right.
Catch
balls. You're right.
Someone like that can still come up and catch 6 balls.
Well, the guy that made the big catch yesterday and sealed the game. He came out of nowhere and caught that big pass.
I didn't even. When they said
that was
who?
The guy they got from the Packers. That was Marvin Scantling.
Valdez Scantling. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, you can see him having a big game in the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, I could. I definitely could. He actually, I forgot about him. He wasn't terrible for Green Bay either.
Yeah, he was decent. I mean, I don't even know if decent, but he was at least a adequate
he's not a total
wide receiver.
Drafted scrub. I mean, he wasn't bad.
Yeah, so
I really think Kansas City's going to figure out a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against them. I do think the 49ers are the better team. And like, put it this way, if both teams come to play and play well, I think the 49ers edge them out.
They should. I agree.
But when you talk about experience and, the quarterbacks are always important in these big games. And as good as Purdy's played all year, how do you go against Mahomes? Coaching wise, that coach, is still the coach that blew that 27-3 lead in the Super Bowl. I'll never forget him about. And Andy Reid, you could argue now he's becoming one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah, I know. One more Lombardi, and he's going to be in the top 5.
Yeah, he's going to be in the Belichick and all the top guys discussion. Right. Real quick, I'll let you go because I know you got to run. Getting back to the Detroit game, what is your thoughts on the coaching job and the decisions by Campbell late in the game?
They were rough. I mean, you kind of already knew that about him. He's a gambler. He goes for it. He's very, in your face about going for it.
Right.
The one that I thought was the worst though is when they were down 10 and he called timeout and he wasted one of those timeouts.
Yeah, he did that too.
He ran the ball up the middle.
Yep.
If he would have kept all 3 timeouts and then kicked the field goal, which would have been fine, or gotten the touchdown, they would have had all 3 timeouts. They would have gotten the ball back.
Yeah.
That was the worst one. I didn't like when they were up. I think they were up 24-14, and they went for it on 4th and 2.5. When that field goal would have put some distance back and kind of cut the momentum.
Yeah.
I won't kill him for that play though.
Well,
he's been doing that all year. That's how they got there.
There are 2 that really bothered me. The one when he passed the field goal, the 48-yarder, when he passed on that one and went for it, I thought that was dumb. You wanted to get points there, to me. So that one I didn't like at all. And then to me, not worse, but just another stupid decision was towards the end when they were making they're down by 10, and there was less than 2 minutes left, and you knew they needed to have 2 possessions to have any shot. And he spent way too much of that 2 minutes trying to score a touchdown when you needed 2 scores. He should have, and they were well within field goal range with about 1 minute and 40 seconds left. He should have kicked a field goal then, and then tried the extra point.
Saved his timeouts.
And have at least 2 timeouts plus 1 minute and 45 with the ball if they were able to get the onside kick, which I know but that's the only chance they had to win that game is to get the onside. So knowing that, just kick the field goal. Don't try to waste more time getting the touchdown. Worry about that on your second possession when it really matters. But instead, he spent all his time scoring the touchdown, which they did get, luckily. They went for it on 4th on that, too. They got lucky. I mean, that was another stupid call, if you ask me. Kick the field goal, dumbass. You need 2 scores. Get your points now and kick it. But no, he got lucky.
He's going to be second guessed for it.
He got lucky the guy made the catch on that 4th down. And but here's the thing. Then, even if they got the onside kick, they had 30 seconds left because he wasted so much time trying to score. Yeah. All right. That which bothered me.
You're right. No, it was bad. It was bad all. I mean, he did a bunch of things that he'll get second guessed for.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good coach. Like I said, overall, he really did well, and he's got this program.
He might be the best. Yeah, he may be coach of the year this year.
Yeah, but those decisions, though, even if you coach that way during the regular season, you have to be smart at these critical times and moments in the playoffs. So I think Detroit is definitely a team that's not going anywhere anytime soon. They're going to be somebody for us to contend with going forward. And I was rooting for them hard because I didn't want to see San Fran in the Super Bowl, but it is what. Then it would be easy for me. I would have been rooting for Detroit all the way, but
Yeah, if Detroit had won, then I would be pulling for them against KC also.
Yeah.
Now that it's down to those two, I'm not even sure who I want to win.
I'm rooting for Kansas City now. Now I'm rooting for Kansas City. Yeah.
Okay.
But but if I had to make a prediction, maybe we'll leave it. We'll end the program here making predictions. So I'll go first.
Okay.
Just, I still think the 49ers are going to win. I don't know why, but I'll be rooting for Kansas City. But I'm going to say it'll be a close game. I think it's going to be something like 31-30. It'll be that close, something like that. A couple points. 31-30, 31-28, something like that. I think the 49ers will figure it out. But go Chiefs.
I think Kansas City is going to win.
Okay.
I think it's going to actually be a little lower scoring than people think. Because I think
they both have good defenses.
Reed, with 2 weeks to prepare, I think Reed will figure out, and Spagnuolo will figure out a way to rattle Purdy.
I can see that. I can see a lower scoring game than where I have it.
I think this game is going to be something like 20-16 with a bunch of field goals or something. Like it's going to be a weird game.
And you have to give the edge to Kansas City's kicker versus the 49er kicker. He's not that good.
Yes, right. Yeah, but Butker, for real.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
They do have an advantage in the special teams.
No, I think Kansas City's going to win. I mean, I've seen it enough now to where I'm not going to predict against it.
All right. I'm with you on that. I'm going to be rooting. I'll be rooting for him as well. Nothing like all the. I wonder what the over under is. How many times we're going to see Taylor Swift shot in a suite during the game? It's going to drive me nuts.
I would say the over is probably what I would take.
Well, who's more entertaining to me is Jason Kelce up in that suite. They got to have they should have a Jason Kelce camp for that game.
Yeah, they probably will.
He might be completely inebriated by the end of that game.
Yeah, he'd probably be before the game.
Yeah, that's true. Before the game, I think in Buffalo he was.
That game starts late.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he will be. It'll be interesting to see if he's in what type of shape he's in before the game starts. All right, Johnny. Well, listen, thank you again, as always, for coming on the program. Really appreciate your time, and we'll have you on during the off season for sure. Definitely want to bring you on for the draft to talk about that when the time is right. And we'll let you go, and appreciate your time as always. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in as always to the program. Appreciate you listening, and until next time, fly Eagles fly. We'll catch you later.